there's a lot less angst out there than there has been in several years, and I think that that's very encouraging because it gives me, at least as a journalist, it gives me the impression that people are starting to, A, come to terms with the digital question and then find answers to it that fit their own publishing model. And that whole feeling that publishing was going to fall into some kind of digital sinkhole and just disappear and not be recovered has finally, not come to pass. And what they realize is it's maybe not a sinkhole, but more of a portal.
Anybody else on that?
We're just going to let Ed sweep.
You can't top that.
Okay. So the next question is more nuts and bolts. There's a great deal of talk about the flashy possibilities, multi-platform. Are we getting a little feedback? Multi-platform networking capabilities. But what about the elements of the electronic age that we're all on the verge of taking for granted? Email blasts, PDF galleys, direct sales from publisher websites. Are those realities setting in, and are they having an impact yet?
I'd like to talk about the PDF galleys. I know that it's something from a small publisher's perspective that we have been wanting to see take off in a bigger way. And I think that, within the next year, I think we are going to see that become a more feasible alternative, because I think the publishers have been ready to do galleys as PDFs and excited because obviously galleys are a huge marketing expense. And so you're always limited in what you can get out there. And really what we've been waiting for is the reviewers and the booksellers to have the devices that they actually are excited to read on. So I think we're seeing that happen now. And I know that I am bullish that within the next year we'll really be able to take advantage of that opportunity.
Nicholas?
I'm not going to be very popular about this.
That's okay. I'm going to follow you strong.
I'm not really fond of Egalleys. I probably should be. I know they save a great deal of money. And I'm sort of the reason why we haven't jumped into it probably a little more quickly than we could. That's not to say I don't find them unuseful. I think they're a good ancillary tool for us. And for the way we are right now, I think we're not quite ready for Egalleys, for critics, that is, I'm speaking. I think most critics still prefer to mark up a galley and turn down pages and take it home with them and not have to worry about losing their power. And at least the critics, and I was pretty good about, I think about a year or two ago, I called several major critics specifically and also book review editors and took a general poll about, are we ready to jump into this yet? And by and large, most people said they weren't there yet. We'll be there soon, we're just not there yet. That's not to say that we don't make them available. I wouldn't actually call it an e-galley, though. I've had a couple of people call me and say, can you send me something in a digital format? I can always do that, and I think we can certainly do it, and it takes just time, not money at this point. And you just walk down to the production department and ask them to send up the most recent pass, and it's terrific, but it's not something that people are, I think, ready for widely yet.
As a critic, I'm going to agree.
Yes.
But I think that it speaks to not just an issue of, do I have a cool toy to read this on, but the deeper issue of how we read and what a book is. And to me, a PDF it doesn't feel like a book. It comes into my email. I get lots and lots and lots of emails, and I think I'm probably not the only one. And it doesn't feel like a whole book to me. It feels like something that I can't really do all those things with, that I do with a galley when I'm reviewing one.
Uh-oh.
We're going to disagree? Awesome.
No, I mean,
I want to disagree.
I'm not disagreeing. I actually have sort of the same experience. I mean, even when I get a small PDF document, if I'm on the road for 12 hours and it takes, 20 minutes to open up that PDF on my phone to just discover what's inside, it's too much. I get really turned off. So, though the thing is that I think more and more the reviewers who I have been reaching out to will say, if you don't have a galley, I'm happy to review the PDF. Just, give me it when you have it. And when I say, yeah, I'm doing this for a small press, that's just not going to happen. They accept that as being, part of what the small press can offer, and them, basically wanting to open themselves up to not just the big houses who can afford to make the expensive galleys, but to the small houses that, that are, have as equal a, tremendous book, but just can't afford the actual paper, print, and binding.
Any thoughts on the security issue of the PDFs? No concerns?
No. We trust everyone.
I think that's a big part of it. People talk about trust. I think there's concern probably by people who are not in this room and who are not part of this community who think that, oh, it'll be downloaded and shared, and someone could Xerox a Egalleys and send it off to someone as it is now. So it's not. I think most of us aren't concerned about that.
Okay. What's happened to the long review? Is it gone forever? There's no word limit online. I put that in as a footnote.
Well, I think there's a difference. I mean, if you're talking about newspaper reviews, outside of the big, the New York Times Book Review, I think you're by and large looking at much shorter reviews in papers. But that's, more of a function of the fact that a newspaper publishes news, and that's what their main job is. And we all know news has gotten itself much shorter, so that's more of a reflection of that. But I can speak for our own journal, for Publishing Perspectives, and we do publish reviews. It's not, it's one of the things we do. We published a 2,500-word piece by a former soldier that was one of the bigger negative reviews of Sebastian Junger's War that I saw. And what was gratifying about it was the comment thread was 4 times longer than that. And so if you take the initial review and you start to include comments online, if you have an actual substantial piece of reviewing, those reviews are terribly long, and suddenly you've got this cacophony, sometimes ignorant comments, but often very, very insightful ones too. And so is that a long review if you take it all together in aggregate? Yes.
I don't feel that when I read book reviews now that are still, they're like 1,200 words. That's short. But they don't feel short to me. It doesn't feel like not enough information. But when I go deep into the LA Times archives and look at the way that people were speaking in newspapers 15, 20, 30 years ago about books, there's a significant difference. But in terms of the contemporary conversation about books, most people don't have the patience to read 2,500 words online or 3,000 words online. So I think it's not dying, but maybe not. Maybe it doesn't have a lot of life in it right this moment.
Well, to speak to what Ed said, if you do include the comments, then it's a very long review. And I don't know how many of you, like me, read a book review and then read all the comments after that, because I really do take in not just what the reviewer had to say, but what the comments are from the fellow readers. Some people are commenting on the actual review. Some people are saying, I agree with this review, or I disagree with this review. But for the most part, I think it's interesting to see the conversation that comes after the actual review in those long threads.
Of course, that's if you're not reading the New York Review of Books, in which case you'd be reading the comments in the next issue. But about those long reviews, particularly at the New York Review of Books or some places like that, or the New Yorker, there's people still read them. That's why their subscription rates are as solid as they are. And the New York Review of Books, one of the very clever things that they do is they group books together and in a very successful way, and actually talk about books by the same writer or common themes, and it's a terrific way to actually read a longer review and read about a lot of books, and they're all very intelligent. Yeah.
And that's a conversation as well. I mean,
True.
I just think we've moved more toward, in a good way, a conversational culture, good and bad. I mean, it's open. It's certainly open-ended, so you're less in a situation where somebody has a final word in a closed system where you really can't retort until maybe, if you're lucky, the next issue. So I think it makes it a little more democratic, the way we engage with book culture and culture at large, because obviously this isn't just endemic to the book culture. It's the way we're interacting with all culture and all news right now.
What I'm curious to ask, and maybe this is more of a question, is if books and publishing are being forced to reinvent themselves from the digital medium, how are reviews looking to reinvent